Namaste. Welcome to our Sunday meditation. Let us begin by turning inward. O Great Spirit, Namaste. Saints and sages of all times, of all places, Namaste. O ye pathmakers of old, Namaste. Ancestors of our bloodlines, of all of the lineages to whom we attune, Namaste. O ye beings of the air, the earth, the fire, the water, the ether, Namaste. Most beloved and precious Ishtadevata, in all of thy names, of which there are a million, in all of thy faces, of which there are a million, in all of thy forms, of which there are a million, in thy wisdom, in thy light, of which there is only one. Namaste. Most beloved Lord of life, be with us. Sweep clear our paths, that today, at this time, that we may be lifted, that we might lift ourselves, that we might become an ever greater blessing unto all of those who enter our aura. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti. Namaste. Welcome. Once upon a yogi time in the ever-present now, there was a fellow, and he lived in a medium-sized town. One day, he went out to meet some friends, and they met at a tea house. And as he was waiting for his friends, he was listening to the conversations around him. His friends came, they had their chai, and he listened. And he listened, and he listened, and he listened, and he listened. And as he listened, his mind became more and more and more and more constricted. More and more and more afraid. He said, I'll see you all later. I need to go. And he walked home. He walked in his house, just in the front door, and looked up. Oh my gosh. And he could see in the corner of the front room, curled up, waiting for him, was a cobra. That which he had been taught to fear from the time that he was a young boy. The cobra was there. He froze. He completely froze. He could barely move. He couldn't sit. He couldn't back out of the room. He couldn't scream for help. There was a cobra in the room. And he stood in that spot for a minute, 5 minutes, an hour, 5 hours, until the sun began to rise. And his mind became more and more and more afraid, and more and more and more confused. And the stories that rose in his mind were horrific. About how all of his loved ones were going to die when they came in to rescue him. About how somebody was going to accidentally walk into the room and he was going to die because the cobra was going to get him. The night became the day. And slowly the sun rose. And he opened his eyes and he looked. And what was in the corner? What was in the corner where the cobra had been all night? Oh, it was the rope that he had brought in and curled up and left in the corner and forgotten about. He had brought the rope in for a project he was working on, and he completely forgot that he had put it there. Scared him so he could not move. He did not move for hours. They say his hair turned white overnight because he could not move. Now you might say, well, that's awfully foolish to have walked into your own home and not remembered that you had put the rope in the corner. It's awfully foolish to have been so frozen that you could not think of a thing to do. So frozen into one thought, one form, that freezing became ice, that ice became an iceberg, that it could not dissolve, and that every fear that he had in his unconscious and his subconscious minds arose. And there were many. And they told many, many, many stories that night. And he could hear in his ears the voices of all the stories his friends had told and all the people that he had been hearing in the town. He could hear all their stories. And his stories were magnified and made worse because of this. Now, what if I told you he practiced yoga? What would you say about that? What if I told you he meditated and he practiced Kriya yoga? What would you say about that? Well, you might say, I think he fell into avidya. He fell into forgetfulness. He forgot who and what he was. He forgot that the rope was in the corner and that it was not his greatest fear, the cobra. Now, in case you think that this is just one person and you could never be that person, the cobra was very smart. There was in the same village a rabbit. Now, you know, rabbits are pretty fast. They can jump. They can run very, 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 very fast. Much faster than a cobra. But guess what happens, my beloved? The rabbit comes within eyesight of the cobra, and the cobra very, very, very slowly raises its head, and the rabbit becomes mesmerized and does not move and stays frozen there for as long as the cobra wishes. And then the cobra reaches out, strikes, and, devours the rabbit. But you might say, how is that possible? The rabbit could outrun the cobra any day of the week. It's true. The rabbit could outrun the cobra. The rabbit could leave the aura of the cobra. But the rabbit was so mesmerized, always, time and time and time again, mesmerized by the eyes of the cobra, rising, rising, rising. And thus could not move and was devoured because of that. Both souls, the rabbit and its descendants, and the man and its friends and its family, all were paralyzed. They were all paralyzed by fear. But my beloved, this is very important. They were paralyzed by fear that arose in their minds. The fear was not objective. The fear was subjective. The fear was magnified because of their imaginations. The fear that kept them paralyzed was magnified because they took a hold of that one little thought and they fed it until it became an iceberg, a glacier, and they could not move. Now, there are many yogic practices to help us overcome this. And you might say, well, I don't know if that's me. Maybe it's not. But I am thinking that if you reflect deeply, you will find that there are times when you have become paralyzed, where a thought expressed by another person paralyzes your mind. Put your mind in a track. Put your mind in a track with tendrils. Remember, no thought ever comes by itself. They all have their friends. Every thought has a friend. So they have their friends. They go off. Your mind becomes paralyzed and takes that paralysis and feeds and feeds and feeds and feeds it. Recently, I had a chance to meet a woman who was afraid. She had read something, a possibility of something, and she created a story around it, and she told the story. Now, I saw this woman in 5 weeks. I saw her 3 times, not twice, 3 times. The last time was just recently, a few days ago. All times she told the story that she had created, and her partner added on to the story, so that 15 minutes of each time that we were gathered, the story was told, and it was a fearful story, very, very fearful, with all kinds of descriptions about what could possibly happen, and advice that she was giving to other people on how to manage their lives when this happened. Nothing about her, nothing about trying to soften the karma for herself, but stories she had made up. She's a good soul. She's a good soul. There's nothing wrong with it. She's a good soul. But that's you and me. That's reading something or seeing something or hearing something that for some reason touches our wants, our desires. For some reason says, oh, this is going to be a problem for me, and becomes fear-filled and attached to that thought form, and feeds and feeds and feeds and feeds the thought form. Now, as we talked in our last meditation about getting rid of, neutralizing, really neutralizing is the word, the emotions of fear, of anger, and confusion. Remember, the word is neutralizing. So you're not trying to push down. You're trying to make your mind like a piece of wood that is demagnetized from these thought forms. All thoughts are eternal. Remember that all thoughts are eternal. The only thoughts that rise in your mind are those thoughts that you are relative to at a specific moment in time. What do you need to do so that you are no longer relative to those thought forms at that particular time? And what causes it? Now, it all begins with the simple impulse of what you want. I'm reminding you, I'm saying it again because it's very, very important. Every problem that we have begins with this desire. Well, what is the desire? You want a specific thing. And I think most of you, I would probably say, if you think about it, you're not really overcome by the wanting of an object. Probably if you're here, you've done a pretty good job of neutralizing that desire for a particular object. Although we all have the desire for objects of one form or another. But if you do feel the desire for an object, one thing that's very helpful is to recognize that everybody wants a different one, I never ever understood the desire for a particular kind of car. If it gets me from one place to another, I'm happy. I don't have that desire. But put a book in front of me. That's another problem. That's a different problem. So we each have permutations of the desire we want. But the second thing is really, 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 again, I'm re-emphasizing what we talked about before. You want recognition for yourself or your work. The second thing is wanting to be recognized, to have people that you don't even know to say, oh, that's a good person. Oh, that's good, that's good, that's good. People that you have no relationship with whatsoever. The mind wants their approval. There's something a little off about that, isn't there? That the desire for approval is so strong that we don't care who gives it to us, as long as the mind gets it, is the problem. Now, at this time, the third thing is wanting things to go in a certain way. You know what that's like. You can draw into your life that which you want, my beloved. It's simply a matter of time. It's a matter of place. It's a matter of you putting your energy into it. But life does not always go the way that we want it, in the timing that we want it, in the nature that we want it. Many years ago, Kriyananda was speaking to a Catholic nun. He had been called to her bedside, and she had asked to speak to him. And she was really quite distressed. And he said, Sister, tell me, what's the problem? What are you really upset about? And she said, my whole life, I've wanted to be Pope. I wanted to be the Pope, the leader of the Roman Catholic Church. And here I am, a nun. I'm in a woman's body. I'm a nun. I'm not even the head of our order. I'm just an ordinary nun. And he said, well, it's not a problem, sister. If you really want to be Pope, if that's really important to you, you're sure it's important? Yes, it's what I've wanted more than anything else in my life, is to be Pope, to lead this church. Don't worry about it. In one of your next lifetimes, you will fulfill your desire. Just focus on that one thing. That one thing. Don't become distracted. Just focus on that one thing. And the nun sister, if you will, took a breath, relaxed, was peace-filled. Really? Really? Well, yes, of course. And she was able to relax because she knew he was speaking to her from a perspective of a primary experience. He knew that if that's what she wanted, she could have it. Now, my beloved, what do you want that is worth wanting for several lifetimes? What do you want? What is so important to you in your life that it is worth your making an effort to have for several lifetimes? I am thinking it is not a Rolls Royce or a Maserati. Whatever you want, you can have. Now, wanting things in a certain way, wanting people to act in a certain way, wanting people to say certain things, wanting people to think in a certain way. The first thing is also one needs to let go of that, because the problem is the problem that the Catholic nun had. That I want is linked to I want it now. And that's where the discontent. And so we must control this feeling of impatience. That the wanting and the impatience bring stress. They bring stress to the mind and the body. What happens? What do you do? Well, ridiculing others, sleeping excessively, drinking, drugs, fighting. Oh, yes, fighting. Withdrawing from the world. Turning inward because it's not the way that you want to do. Now, so there must be methods. There must be something you can do to respond to the stress and to recognize just because you don't have it now doesn't mean you won't have it. This is the value of the science of the Horashastras, the value of the science of astrology, which in Kriya Yoga is a very important science that we have in our tradition. It is the science of timing, the science that says that there's a time gate to everything. Now, what does that mean? Well, somebody said to me, I've had a bad week. I said, oh, what are you concerned about? Well, I'm concerned about when Saturn moves into my first house. Oh, yeah, I know. I can understand that. It's there for me. What's your first house? Oh, they told me. And I said, oh, well, you're fine. You have time. It's not going to move there for 18 months. What's the blessing of Kriya Yoga and the blessing of the science of astrology? Oh, If I know I have 18 months, I can chant mantra. I can breathe pranayama. I can journal. I can take the problem into my dreams. I can soften my personality. I can learn whatever I need to learn to change my attitude. I've got time to do something. But what do? We sit frozen like the man in the cobra, the man in the robe, and think, oh, this is going to happen. What can I do? What can I do? What can I do? And our mind gets frozen. So the first thing, take a sip of water. Stress dehydrates the body. Take a sip of water. Keep water, fresh, cool spring water next to you. And when you're feeling stressed, sip water. That'll help you so you're not dehydrated. You know, we're living in this klesha. You're living in this form. That yours is different than mine, but it's still the form of a human body. And so one has to say, well, I have to pay attention to this. I have to be good to this. I have to recognize that my horizon of awareness is limited by what I do with this and how I treat this. Take a sip of water. Do something physical. Hatha yoga. I know many of you are yoginis or yogis. Do hatha yoga. Stretch the body. Do pranayama. Take a deep breath. Do that just now. Shut your eyes for a moment and take 3 long, deep breaths. Inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. And now sit in the after effect for just a moment. And now try it the other way. Inhale, sipping through the mouth, and exhale through the nose. Very gently. And now sit in the after effect. Now, my beloved, that's very simple. It didn't take you any time at all. You had 2 ways to practice. Inhaling through the nostrils, exhaling through the mouth. Inhaling through the mouth, exhaling through the nostrils. Which is most comfortable for you at this time? What do you have? You have a method. When your mind becomes crazy, when your mind becomes frozen, you have a method. You can do something. Now, I said, do something physical. Walking, cycling, hiking, jogging, Pilates, dancing, something physical. Do something that will make you laugh. Find someone who makes you laugh. You know, one of the great blessings of technology is that we have all these access to all this wonderful comedians. And there are a few there who are really quite funny and not coarse, not harsh, but have a way to make you laugh. Think about the things that bring joy to you. Laughing is one of the greatest ways, one of the greatest things to bring joy to one's life and to let go of the fear, to let go of the anger, to let go of the tension. Use something physical and then move into meditation. Now, we're going to do a visualization in just a moment. That will help you. But what do you need to do? What skill do you need to develop so that any of these can work? What skill do you need to develop? Strengthen, if you will. And that is the skill of observing your body and observing the thoughts that rise and fall in your mind. Observing without judgmentalness, so that you have the capacity to see, oh, there's a cobra over there. I've frozen. There's a cobra over there. My mind has frozen. Not me, but my mind has frozen. Now what can I do to unfreeze that? And so I would suggest and urge to you that you strengthen, that you practice the skill of mindfulness. Take a part of your consciousness, lift it about 2 feet above the head, and this is put in a globe of blue light. And it becomes the blue light of self-awareness. And all that you are doing, it's everything. You are observing, 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 observing. You're seeing. It's a camera. And I know some of you who have been here for decades say, here she is again talking about this. But it is the basis of everything spiritually, is to be able to observe without judgment. So you see that the mind has frozen and you think, here it is again. No. That's what I do. That's what I have done in the past. But no, you don't do that. You say, well, all right, here it is again. What can I do? What can I think? What can I say? What can I do to neutralize this? Sometimes when the problem arises again and again and again, we become discouraged. You do practices for decades and the problem arises and you become discouraged. And I remember one time, it was one of the greatest blessings of my discipleship. I was having a big case of spiritual indigestion and pretty discouraged that I kept having this problem arise in my mind again and again. And I went to Pranananda ji and I said, Guruji, look at this, decades of practice, a lot of practice. And look, as I'm highly emotional, look what's happening. It's still a problem. And I was talking about the emotions rising in the mind. And he said with his greatest love, you and me and Shelley too. For those of you who do not know, Shelley Ji is Goswami Kriyananda's guru. And he was saying we all go through these periods of time. Do not become discouraged. Just keep practicing, repeating the practice, perfecting the practice, doing the practice again and again and again and again and again. So you need to have this observer practice here. You watch with a part of your consciousness. You watch what's rising in your mind, what's falling in your mind. You watch the triggers that come into your life. Is this one a trigger for anger? Is this one a trigger for fear? What is this a trigger for? Is this rising? Is this causing my mind to become angrier, to become more fear-filled? You need for you to know. Oh, boy, every time I see that color, every time I smell that smell, every time I hear that sound, every time this person speaks, oh, look what happens. Thus, I need to do something. Use, and we will go into a meditation here in a moment, use the great mystical formula that Sri Shelley Ji left us. I times D equals F. Intensity times duration equals force. If you can take this methodology, this formula, this mystical formula, and apply it to any problem in your life, anything you're trying to transform, to neutralize. How long has this been a problem? Let's just say you have a problem. Well, when did it first crop up? Oh, when I was 12. How old am I now? Oh, 24. Well, the problem's been going on for 12 years. That's the duration. Now, most of you are more than 24. Let's just say you're 50, and the problem's been going on since you were 10. It's been going on 40 years. What's the intensity of the problem? How much of a disruption has it been in your life? Would you label it a 1? Would you label it a 10? And this is going to tell you the force that it has in your life. Now, here's an even powerful, beautiful thing to do, is to say, well, let's say I'm a musician and I started playing music at age 12. Like Mitsuko Ushida, the great pianist conductor, started playing music when she was 7, but really started playing and studying when she was 12, right? But she practices and studies 6 days a week. Sometimes, if she can, 7 days a week. Yeah, she gives concerts and teaches. She's a teacher. Oh, teaching is a great way to strengthen our practice. But if I looked at her duration, she's 75, I believe. So for 63 years, she's been practicing music. 63 years, she's been sleeping, drinking, dreaming music. Playing the piano and conducting. That's a long duration in a life of a human life today. And it is a great intensity because of the effort she's putting in. And therefore, the success rate is very high. The force of her efforts are very high. She's reached the pinnacle of what humans reach, almost. She will tell you she hasn't. what does that say to you? It says you need to say, well, all right, I have a problem here. How much effort have I put into solving it? How much am I trying to solve my problem? How long have I put into it? What am I doing exactly to solve the problem? My guru loved language. He studied many, many languages. But his methodology was simple. A small bit every day. So he'd learn a few words depending upon the language he was studying. A few words he'd memorize every day. The duration was long. But the attention he put in that moment in time of memorization, it was high intensity. Only because he wanted to concentrate. So for you, mystically, what gives you intensity? It is your capacity to concentrate, to bring the distracted mind together with effort, which is a step along the practice of meditation. First, we concentrate, which is effort-filled, and then the mind lets go of the concentration with effort and meditates. So what have I said to you? I've given you a number of practices. You need to look at your life. We need to look at our lives every day and say, well, how's it going here? Where am I today versus last week versus last year, last month? And what's the one problem that I want to solve? What's the one thing, if I took away, would improve my life? Just the one thing. Because if you can let go of one of your desires, the rest of your life will improve. So maybe you let go of your desire for the approval of others. Just a thought. Just a thought. Maybe you let go this week of your desire to have things the way that you would like them. Just a thought. Now we are going to share a meditation together, and then we will end our practice today, our time together with prayer. And I'm sure you can discern without my being specific about it, but the reason that I'm leading these meditations on dissolving fear, anger, and confusion is that there are many external events happening in the world around us in which fear, anger, and confusion are arising. Confusion is your inability to see clearly because of fear. Because what you see happening is not what you want to happen. And because there's a denial of what you want, the mind becomes angry. And with the anger arising, the mind becomes confused. And my beloved, spiritually, this is not helpful. And when you find that your mind has become confused, lay down the confusion. When you find your mind has become angry, say, well, why am I angry? No, because it didn't go my way, because they didn't speak the way I wanted. Neti, neti, neti. Always remember that beautiful yogic practice. Neti, neti, neti. I'm not this thought. I'm not the thought thinking this thought. I am not thought. Let go of the anger. Let go of the fear. And just be present with your breath in the moment. Namaste. Namaskar. Let us meditate together. And you will see on our altar today we have images of Lord Shiva and of Lord Ganesh. Shiva is the swallower of poison. Facing the altar on the right side is Shiva as swallowing time. Shiva swallowing time, so that you will be able to see It is on the altar today as a symbol that all of the poisons that might be present will be swallowed through your meditative energies. Sit with your spine erect as you are able, your hands in the Om Mudra, the index finger and the thumb together, upon your thighs, cupped upward. Turn your head to the left, exhaling twice. Bring the head back to the center and begin to watch the breath. Use the sipping breath. Pull the energy from the limbs to the trunk, sipping as if through a straw. From the trunk of the body to the spinal column. From the base of the spine to the sun center. Take that sipping breath and move the golden light out in front of you. Expand that light and sweep around your body counterclockwise, moving to the left 3 times. Encase your body in golden light. And now ascend to the high place, above the room, above the building, above the continent. Ascend to the high place of meditation. Reaching that high place of meditation, finding yourself in a comfortable meditation posture. In front of you, there's a mountain. Halfway up the mountain, you see a light calling to you. Ascend to the light. Ascend to the light. Reaching the light, you see in front of you a shrine filled with light, calling to you to enter. Breathe in the light. Walk to the back of the shrine. There's a pool of light. Enter that pool. Feel all of the old dissolve away. In front of you is a waterfall of light. Walk through the pool, standing under the waterfall of light. Te Betsu Devaya. Feel the light pouring upon your crown center, over you, through you, washing away all of the old karmas. Te Betsu Devaya. 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 Let go of all of the constrictive emotions, filling your entire being with light. Breathe in the light. Walk forth from the waterfall of light. Feel yourself clothed anew. Walk through the pool. Continuing to breathe in the light. Leaving the shrine of healing. Holding on to the light. Vitality, the peace. Return to your high place of meditation. To the grove of the meditators. O ye powers that be, join with us. In your mind's eye, see the light. And as we send forth our prayers, our petitions, we will use the Om Shanti mantra. See that golden light radiate forth from your sun center in golden dewdrops of Anandic bliss to those for whom we pray. If you prefer golden circles of light, Call forth your chosen form of the divine to join with you. O ye powers that be, thou knowest better than we that which is needed by Mother Gaia. We are here, living upon her, living within her. May the light be poured around her, upon her, within her. May she be healed at all levels. May our gratitude for our presence on her radiate forth. For it is through living within Mother Gaia that we find our enlightenment. Let us chant the Om Shanti mantra 3 times, again seeing the golden light radiating forth from your sun center. Om Shanti, 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 Om Shanti, 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 Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. For all of those souls who are living with the emotions of fear, anger, and confusion, may these emotions be neutralized. May their minds be lifted. May they be filled with Anandic bliss. Feel the golden dewdrops of Ananda pouring forth upon the earth and all of the beings upon the earth. Thou knowest better than we what is needed at this moment. Send forth our blessings as is needed. Again, 3 times the Om Shanti mantra. Om Shanti, 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 Om Shanti, 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 Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. For all of those souls who are living with lack of water, with food insecurity, with shelter insecurity, with economic insecurity, with insecurity of peace, with no peace, with war around them. For all of those souls who are living imprisoned in the emotions of their mind, may they be blessed. Let us chant the Om Shanti mantra 9 times, 3 times 3. Again, feel that golden light of Anandic bliss radiating forth, that the powers that be will send forth our meditative energies to help as is needed most. Om Shanti, 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 Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. O ye powers that be, thou knowest better than we, those souls who are in need, who are living in war-torn lands and famine-filled lands, in lands of political and economic uncertainty. O ye powers that be, thou knowest better than we, those who are living with the insecurity of environmental climate changes. May our prayers, our meditative blessings be of help as is most needed. Let us chant the Om Shanti mantra 6 times. Om Shanti, 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 Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Harahit Om. Be thou blessed, be thou blessed, be thou triply blessed. May the golden dewdrops of Anandic bliss pour forth upon thee at this moment, filling every cell of thy being with Ananda, Ananda, Ananda. May you be a blessing unto all of those who enter your aura. Namaste. Namaskar. Namaste Ji. I thank you for radiating forth your spiritual energies and your spiritual blessings at this time. Namaste Ji.